Major funding for these broadcasts is made possible by grants from Capital One Bank, New York Community Bank, Eastern Consolidated, M&T Bank, Sterling National Bank, Meridian Capital Group, Customers Bank, Ariel Property Advisors, Dime Community Bank. Additional funding is made possible by grants from AM Trust Title, AVR Realty Company, Avison Young, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Bank Leumi USA, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Commercial Mortgage, Citizens Bank, CPEX Real Estate Services, Colliers International NYC, Cohen Equities, Collins Building Services, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handler Real Estate Organization, Handro Properties, Hodges Ward Elliott Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Madison Realty Capital, Matone Group, Mercantile Bank, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Group, SJP Properties, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Meringoff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Organization, Moynihan Capital Partners, and these friends.
Ozone Park? Parochial school? Richmond High School. City College. I'm gonna go with my father to these buildings, watching the bricklaying, building 3-story buildings. City College. I'm gonna become an architect. Forget City College. I'm now gonna go to Harvard. From Harvard, going to work for city planning. I'm going to work for some architects. I meet this woman at a bodega. Maybe we'll get married one day. Maybe we'll go into business one day. Boy, oh boy, apartment, buildings, 1 Madison Avenue, 45 Broad, Lincoln Square Synagogue, the old flat hotel, the Aero. Who is it? I got Judge Sentra. Thanks for being here today.
It's a pleasure.
So tell me about Mom's side, how they came to America, and tell me about them.
Sure. My mother's family was from Italy, and they were from an area called Abruzzo. Abruzzo is actually in the central part of Italy, and it was directly across from Rome, but you had to cross the mountains to get there.
Okay, so this is Mom's side.
That's Mom's side.
So when did they come here?
Well, my grandfather he came at a very early age. He came here as a teenager. He was born in 1900. And he came as a teenager with his father, and he was going back and forth. He would come here, work in construction. That was his primary area that he was involved in. He worked in construction, and he would go back and forth to Italy, save some money, and then go back to Italy. And on one of those trips, he met my grandmother, Maria Capacchione, and they were married and started building a family. So he would go back and forth, and there would be another child born. So my mother has a sister and two brothers.
Your father's side.
His family was from another small town in Abruzzo called Vestea, and that was on the other side of the mountain. From my grandmother's side. He came also very early on. He was a soldier in World War I for the Italian army, and he was a cook. So he got a lot of medals. You know, we got this collection of medals from his good cooking and his dedication. He was a very hardworking guy also, and he married my grandmother, also Maria, and then they came to the United States. It was probably around 1920.
What about the Pennsylvania story?
So my father's father, when he came over, of course he wanted to try and find a job right away, and they were recruiting Italians to go to Pennsylvania to work in the coal mines. So his first job was actually going down to Pennsylvania and working in the coal mines, but he really did not like it. He realized that was not for him. He was used to being outdoors, and he, 1 week, you know, decided to leave that and came back to New York.
So this is Grandpa.
Yeah, right.
So Grandpa settles in Ozone Park?
Right.
How was this Ozone Park? Because Grandma's family settled in Ozone Park
That's true.
too.
Yeah. My growing up, there were many, many Italians in Ozone Park, and so I had friends whose family was from Sicily, from Naples, from all of the areas where there was the wave of immigration from Italy, people coming to the United States, and somehow they wound up in Ozone Park.
So tell me about how your father met your mother.
So my father, he met my mother actually through my uncle Joe. And,
who he was in business with.
He was, my mother had two brothers, has two brothers. One had passed away recently, Angelo and Joe. So my father was very good friends with Joe, and my uncle Joe introduced my father to my mother. And so they started dating, started meeting each other, you know, around the corner, whatever that, you know, would be tolerated by my very strict grandmother at the time. And so the rest is history. They got married, and here we are.
Let's talk about your father's mother, because you said to me she was the patriot and the business lady.
Yes, right. She had a nickname called La Ferrara, which in English means like the woman of steel. And so she was able to amass quite a bit of real estate. My family still owns a little bit of it in Ozone Park, and she would buy houses, 2 or 3 story, you know, three family houses, some with a little bit of commercial space possibly, and she took in boarders. You know, at that time there was a system where people were coming to the United States, they needed a place to live. She would cook meals for them.
She ran like a rooming house.
Yeah, it was a rooming house. Yeah, somebody told me it was like Airbnb of you know, of the 1940s, 30s. So she was pretty successful at it. She'd save some money and then she'd buy another house. So she just, you know, basically accumulated all these properties. Again, also mostly in Ozone Park.
Now you said to me your dad and his brother.
Yeah.
Went into initially the bricklaying business.
Yes, right.
So they were bricklayers at the beginning, and then they got involved with masonry.
Well, it was actually my father and my uncle, who then became my father's brother-in-law. And my uncle was already a brick mason, and my father he came back from his stint in the Army. That would have been about 1947 when he came back. He didn't want to go back to school. You know, he left actually Brooklyn Tech. He was very, very good in math, but he decided that he was hungry. He wanted to get to work. He wanted to be more entrepreneurial, right? So he took jobs which in construction, which he didn't feel it was really fulfilling his goal, you know, and financially. And so he started, so my uncle actually introduced him to his boss, who was a bricklayer, and my father became an apprentice, a bricklayer apprentice, working with my uncle and in that company. So once my father learned that trade, my uncle and my father would do odd jobs. They'd, you know, build a stoop or do something in front of somebody's house or something like that. And they decided, though, that they were building enough of business that they went out on their own. They started their own company. and it was called A&J Brick Mason Contractors.
And they used to take around the little kid,
Yes, right, yeah.
You'd go
So-
on the sites with your father and uncle.
Right, on the weekends, I was in the back of the car, and driving around looking at the properties that they were going to be doing the masonry work for. He would go and see if the jobs were ready to start, and also then my father was the one who figured the jobs. Looked.
He was the pricing.
Right, he did the pricing, he did the estimating, and so I learned from watching him
And you learned plans.
how to read the plans. Yeah.
So you said to me you went to parochial school and the nun and you didn't get along, right?
No. Yeah.
Wasn't the best.
Yeah, well, my sisters, interesting thing is my mother, my father, and my two sisters and I all went to the same elementary school, St. Mary Gate of Heaven in Ozone Park. And so I was the oldest, so therefore the first one to go through. And I didn't want to sit in school. I was too, they called me the dreamer. They told my mother I was a dreamer, And I was always looking out the window and trying to figure out an escape route, to get out of the classroom. And so I was very different from my sisters at that point in elementary school. And so they told my mother that, I wasn't going to do very well, so maybe I should try to get a trade or something like that, so they were not encouraging very much.
So then you went to Richmond.
I went to Richmond Hill High School, and when I started at Richmond Hill High School, I just asked my mother again about this the other day, and they put me, because of, you go from one school to the other, they write recommendations, strengths, weaknesses, whatever. And so I wind up at Richmond Hill High School, and I'm in a bunch of remedial classes, which was so easy. I was doing very, very well there. So my parents went to the open school, parent-teacher night, and all the teachers had such praise for me. They didn't understand the report because it was like the student that the nuns wrote about was not the same student that they saw in me. And my mother said, they walked out of the school and they said, Charlie, you think they're talking about John? They get the wrong person, but yeah, that's what happened. So.
Now, you said to me during high school and even at the initial time of college, you made money because you worked with your father on some of the sites, right?
Yes, right. So I started at about 11, 12 years old during the summer, going to work with my father. And I did that up to, I think it was 17 or 18 years old. Every summer I would go to work. And so I would be getting paid a pretty decent wage for the work I was doing. I was just a helper. I think I knew even before I graduated from high school that it was something that I wanted to do, and I expressed that interest to my father. He brought me actually to a local architect's office. You probably know or remember Gene and Joel Mealy. They were two brothers, and one was an engineer, one was an architect. They had an office in Queens. So I went to go see their office and talk to Gene about being an architect, and it was kind of like a natural progression in my family, because we had so many people. Almost everyone in the family was involved in some kind of construction business. And none of them, however, wanted me to do anything like what they were doing, had done.
Wanted you to elevate.
Yeah, my grandfather used to tell me that he'd say, Johnny, you're going to go to work with a tie. He said, you're not going to go to work with the work boots and bust what, like your father. So, so it was instilled in us that, we had to do something.
So what year did you graduate Richmond Hill?
Graduated Richmond Hill around 71. I think it was 1971.
And then you go to City College uptown.
Went to City College, yes. I was commuting from Ozone Park to up to Harlem, 145th Street. It was quite a distance, and I did that for 3 years, and then decided to find a place closer to the school. so I wound up living up at the school for the balance of my time.
So how did you meet this woman who wanted to do architectural history?
Yeah.
The bodega?
Well, Nancy was, across the street from the school, there was a bodega where all the students would go to get their lunch, coffee, whatever. And so I'm standing online and I see this girl standing in front of me with, Nancy has curly hair, and she turned around and she flashed these big blue eyes at me, and it was just like love at first sight. I said, I have to get to know her. So
you got to know her, but it took many years before you got married.
Yeah, that's true.
So you graduate City College in what year?
I graduated 77.
So how did you decide to go to Harvard?
Well, I did very well at City College. And I really enjoyed it. I thought I had a great education there, and I felt that the part that I was missing was understanding the bigger picture of design, and basically urban design and planning. How do cities get to be the way they are? The impact of zoning. I was looking at that very, very seriously. Like how, as an architect, you have all of these rules. You have building code rules, you have zoning and bulk controls and all that. And I wanted to understand more about that process and how it influences cities and urban design and architecture. So I didn't feel I needed to go into a graduate program to learn more about architecture, so I looked at programs that would focus on urban design.
So you go to Cambridge.
So, yeah.
And the year between Cambridge, you were working for city planning, you said.
Yes, right, yeah. At that time, the City Planning Commission had a number of satellite offices in different parts of the city and boroughs, and there was a Midtown office that was located in the Chandler Building in Times Square. And this was before, Times Square then looked totally different. And so I spent that summer. That was the summer that Ed Koch was mayor during one of his administrations. And I worked there. And I was given the task of looking at some of the Durst properties that they owned south of Rockefeller Center down to 42nd Street, and trying to come up with a plan for how it might be redeveloped. And it was very interesting. We got to meet Seymour Durst at that time. And what I realized, however, about the experience was that if you're an urban designer or a planner, your project's it's going to take many, many years. It's going to take 20 years. I calculated that by the time he went through all the phases, getting everything lined up, and so on and so forth, and getting the enthusiasm that's needed for these big plans to be implemented, it was just too much time. For me, personally, I felt that I wanted to see something happen faster.
So you graduate Harvard in 79, and you go to work where?
I had two things going, actually. It was very interesting. I was offered a teaching position at City College, so I was teaching design, and I was running a history seminar. And then also Jacqueline Taylor Robertson, who was one of the preeminent urban design architects in the 70s. He designed Isfahan, a big city in Iran, and was very, very influential as an urban designer as well as an architect. So I went to work for him part-time, and then was also working and teaching at City College.
And Nancy was where?
Nancy was at that time at Perkins and Will. So while I was at Jack's office, he formed a partnership with Peter Eisenman. So it was Eisenman Robertson, and so it was really interesting, because Peter is he's a provocateur. He's a great thinker and a great designer.
And when you were there, you were involved with the HSBC Bank, the Republic National at that time.
That was with Elliottia when Brad Perkins joined the partnership with Elliottia.
Because that was a very unique project,
Yeah.
the Knox building, which
Yes.
was Republic National Bank.
Right, exactly. So what the story was, I went from Eisenman Robertson to Perkins and Will to work on a residential project in the Upper West Side. And after I had done that, at about the same time we were finishing that, Brad Perkins then joined up with Elliottia. Now Nancy was working also at Perkins and Will, and we went together with Brad to Attia and Perkins, and we worked on Republic National Bank. That was one of our projects. We worked on 26 West 62nd Street. Ellie did some residential projects for Peter Calico, and so we did that.
So you and Nancy get married to what,
86.
1986, and then 1987, the two of you decide to go out on your own.
Yeah.
What happened?
You know, I guess it was always part of my, it's like DNA, you know. Everybody in my family were entrepreneurial. They went out on their own. They had their own companies. They were successful. And I wanted to have an opportunity to do my own thing.
So
you know?
what was the first project that you and Nancy worked on under the Cetra Rudy?
The first project was actually for Hart's Mountain. They were developing sites in Long Island City. And there was one site called the East River Tennis Club. Nancy actually was working with Elliottia's office on another site for Hart's in Queens Plaza, right near the QP's, where QP's Marketplace used to be. And so she was working on that one, and Leonard needed an architect for the project on the tennis club site, and she said, why don't you talk to John, you know, and so set up an interview, and then I got that job.
Let's talk about some of the projects, because you and Nancy have been involved with some unique and major projects today and over the last 30 years. One Madison.
Yeah. We started on that project from the very beginning. It was about 2005. And Ira Shapiro was led the development team on that project, and it's probably one of the most dynamic pieces of property.
Because it was the first time anything would have been built in the Flatiron District in 100 years, perhaps.
There was a building, a residential building that was built on the corner.
The small one, which was like 10
stories. Nothing special, but. This building offered us an incredible opportunity because there was an assembled site which included air rights, transfers from adjacent properties, and and also it had complications of some tenants. There was the McDonald's that was occupying one of the pieces that we needed for the development. So we had to come up with a strategy of designing the building which would allow us to start the construction before the McDonald's site was available. And so that was where the idea came for the cantilever of the buildings. And it's the idea that there's a portion of the tower which is anchored to the ground, and there's these pods that are attached to it that actually cantilevered over.
Another interesting project, similar time, was the Walker Tower.
Yeah.
The old New York Telephone building off 7th Avenue.
Yeah, and that was, that was an incredible project, working with Michael Stern and his partners on that project, because, again, that was 2010. So New York was just beginning to come out of...
Right, and this was a conversion of taking basically a telephone switching building, and they remained there, and then also to build the addition on that.
Yeah.
So that was a very interesting project.
Yeah.
Another interesting project was the Lincoln Square Synagogue.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's an incredible project. We had an opportunity to design a new synagogue in Manhattan, which one hadn't been done in probably 40 years. One of the many that actually the congregation was interviewing for the project, and of course we had never even designed a synagogue before that. We wanted the job. We thought this is an incredible opportunity to do a house of worship, and so we took it very seriously. And we thought about, what is it about a synagogue? What is the genesis of it? What is the significance of it? I was brought up, Roman Catholic, but so there were a few things that really influenced the design. which came from this congregation specifically and from Judaism. We didn't want to do kind of obvious symbols which become kind of kitsch after a while. We wanted to try to get to a deeper level of combining, the architecture with what was happening inside. So I remember there was a passage in the Torah about how in a good person the light should come from within, should radiate out and come from within. And that was something that we took to heart. And initially, even in some of the first sketches that we did, we had this notion of this glowing building, that there would be this light that would come from within. And I remember when we went for the interview, you never know how these things are going to go. We don't know if the stack is decked against us or whatever. We set up, our sketches and are getting ready for the presentation. And the presentation was in the old bank building that was next door to the synagogue. And people kept pouring in. It was like
they all wanted to hear. They wanted to be part of the decision.
And yes, and and I realized this is not an ego trip for this congregation.
I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the Arrow, which is the former Roseland Ballroom, which the Algin management is building over there.
Yes.
How tall is that?
60 stories.
60 stories, which is a unique property that we have pictures. 45 Broad, which is one of the tallest buildings in Lower Manhattan on a very small lot. And then in addition to that, Flat Hotel at 135 West 52nd Street, which was a conversion into residential. And now you're in Canada, right?
Yeah, we're working on a really interesting project there in Canada, in Toronto. Toronto's a relatively new city. When you drive around Toronto, you see a lot of buildings that were built in the last 50 years. And they have a big boom. Recently, their housing market is very, very hot. And so we're working on a really interesting project there right now where the building, I think our design could never be put anywhere else except for this site because of its proximity to a park.
You and Nancy, as we said, have been married 31 years. You have a daughter?
Our daughter, Andrea, she's 24 years old, and she's finishing her last year in law school at George Washington. And so she wants to save the world, and and I think she'll do it. So we're very, very proud of her.
And your mother is still alive. Your dad passed on. But the good thing is that, he left the coal mines, met the right people in Ozone Park, and they built some business, and they were able to aid their son to become one of the leading architects, and his wife, no question.
Yes, correct.
Cetra Rudy.
Right.
You see, you won that one because you was the C before. Otherwise, if Nancy would have been, it would have been Nancy first. But thanks for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Michael.